How the heck you doing? This is Corey here with Watcher Realms. So this is pretty standard, right? Every season I go ahead and do a test to see what tiles are in range of Garnet Guards and what tiles are in range of the archers. So we're going to go ahead and do that for the towers and the keeps for this new season 8 map. Well, technically there's 2 maps. So first things first, right? We're going to drop the archers. Reason being is because if a unit is in danger of being hit by archers, it's almost never ever a good idea to go ahead and use that specific tile. So we're seeing if Setram is in range here. And if he's not, that's super good because it means you have some flexibility as to the units that you place here. And let's see, last one. Okay, so the archer will not go ahead and target this tile, so that's really good to know. Let's kind of restart this and see how do the Garnet Guards do. Because I would imagine that Garnet Guards are going to hit Paredes, Pelagios, and I doubt they'll hit Setram because I think he breaks their range, but worth a shot, right? So here we go. We're going to drop the double Garnet Guards. Get to 10 cost. Well, 3 cost, really. There we go. Drop the healer on top of them just to get that extra sustain. All right, let's see what the pathing is. It looks like they're... Okay, they ignore Setram. So this tile right here is safe. Now, let's see if they go ahead and attack Paredes. They do. So Paredes is, like, this tile is in danger, which means this tile is obviously in danger as well because mages will go ahead and hit it. The next thing that I want to see is do they go ahead and actually swap over and hit Pelagios? Because if they do, then that's super interesting. They do. All right, so it looks like eventually, did they swap again? What caused that trigger? Interesting. So they do hit that tile, but my question is why? Because it looks like only one of them hits it. So let's just do this again. Because I've also had instances, because I've kind of tested this prior to this video, but I've actually tested this and sometimes they will hit twice. Sometimes they'll hit 3 times. So there's a condition that must be met. And I wonder if Brokir breaks that condition or makes it a little bit more difficult. So Paredes is dead. That's normal. Let's speed this up. So 1 does it. Why is it just 1? It's so interesting. Let's do this a final time. Because that doesn't make sense unless there's something with the timing. So let's just like super stack these. That's actually really interesting. It doesn't necessarily make sense why they're breaking. Hold on. Let's do it like this. Let's get to 8 costs. Super drop them. Okay. It almost makes me wonder if Brokir freezing them is throwing off the timing for the second one to also throw. That could be it. They're basically in sync at this point. That has to be it. I think Brokir is throwing it off. So that's interesting. This tile is a little bit dangerous. And it depends, because I feel like there's some RNG involved here. Interesting. Very interesting. I wonder. Let's go ahead and swap out Brokir and see if Brokir is the one that's breaking this pathing. So let me hop on my iPad over here. I'm using Crodor for this tile. Save this. There we go. Good. All right, let's see. Because that doesn't necessarily make sense. Unless there's something in the freeze mechanic that is making Garnet Guards not double hit that tile. Let's see. This is way more than I was anticipating. But I feel like that has to be the case. Drop the healer. All right, let's see. Because something doesn't make sense. Crodor is not geared, is he? Let's see. Who's another tank? I can use Reeve. I'm pretty sure my Reeve is geared. But Then again, he's going to stun too. Who's a good tank I can go ahead and use? Torador stuns as well. This is one of the tricky things about having two accounts. I have to figure out where I want my units to be for these teams. Let's do this. We know that Praetus dies. Let's add Ezreal. Let's gear Crowdor so he's not useless. And then go from there. There we go. Somewhat tanky. And then... Cool. Yep, let's run it down with this alteration. We're basically swapping out Praetus and then keeping Crowdor so he can be a good baseline for us. There we go. Cool. Let's hop out. There we go. All right, let's rechild this and see. Because there's something with that interaction that doesn't really make sense as to why only one hits. It doesn't make sense. All right. Gardevoir 1, Gardevoir 2. Oh, that was horrible. There we go. All right. 1 guard, 2 guards. They pretty much are perfectly stacked on each other, timing-wise. All right, now we get to see what actually works. Let's drop a healer, just so they don't die. Ezreal should be able to keep them, Crowdor alive, easily. Ah! That tile is in danger. Okay. So, it's in full danger if you don't have a unit down. So let's see if it changes if we put Ezreal further up. Let's quit out of this. Because my Ezreal should survive. Ideally, right? I say that, then he probably dies. Let's see. Let's do that. And then let me put a Lily here as well, just to make sure that we can tank everything. And I'll get rid of Setram, because Setram passes the test. Here's Lily. All right. Let's quit out, and let's just see how this works. Super interesting interactions. Yep, there we go. All right, so retesting. Essentially, does Pelagios die? Because if he does, then this tile really is just a no-go, and it just depends on RNG off of Brokir, which is never a good thing. Let's see here. Especially because if you can't use this tile, honestly, nothing of this team works. Because you are almost forced to lose out a point of damage. Alright, so they go ahead, they hit Ezreal, which is fine. We anticipated this. Do they go ahead and hit Pelagios? What's the condition? Does his displacement? No. Interesting. I feel like... Interesting. Okay. So that's definitely interesting because essentially there's something with Brokir's freeze or maybe stuns too in general, but then Pelagios didn't do it. So there's some RNG involved with the Garnegars to determine whether they will go ahead and target that secondary tile. However, in general, I don't necessarily like it because if you have to stack double healers here, then what's the point, right? Unless you're just, yeah, there's actually just no point I can think of. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. Don't like it though. So let's go ahead and test this other comp, which is relatively common. I have seen this and I actually know a couple things. So first and foremost, this is the team. Obviously, people go ahead and instead of having Virna here, they go ahead and put like a Valkyria, they put a Ymrit. I actually know for a fact this tile is Garnet-guardable. I've done it multiple times. So let's just go ahead and do it. Garnet-guard 1, Garnet-guard 2. Obviously, this is not an actual team. This is just dummy placements. Go ahead and put it here. And drop the healer. Run it down. Let's see how this works. Because I know for a fact that Morgan's going to die. Good night. Alright, so now that that's done, let's see. Does any other unit get hit? The answer is no. So it's just this tile that's in danger. So I think you almost have to build a healer here in that top slot, and then it works. So that's simple. That's nothing too crazy. Now let's see the keeps. The keeps are really interesting because of all these different placements that you can do. I want to see if this tile is hittable. From things that I have tried, it is not. But I just want to test it, right? So let's get to it. First thing is first, we're going to drop the archer. We're going to do the archer test. Speed this up. I don't think that Boreas is hittable. I think there's more than 4 tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's literally too many tiles. So let's see. Oh, wait. It is hittable. Archers hit it. Okay. Is Morgan safe? She is. I want to test something. Do rare archers work? And I know this sounds weird, but rare archers are a very interesting thing because in season 5 we saw them. Was it season 5? Yes, season 5 they had some really interesting interactions. So let's go ahead and swap over. Instead of my axes, where are my rare archers? Here they are. I'm gonna max, or yeah, let's max fill them. It doesn't even matter. All right, let's see. We know that Morgan was safe, and that's how, and we know that Boreas died. So the next thing in the order of operations is I want to go ahead and just kind of bait out the Boreas ult just so that these rare archers don't die, and then I'm going to see how does this work with Garnet Guards. So actually, let's do rare archers. Let's do rare archers first. Boreas is going to ult. It's going to take about 20 seconds. So 3, 2, 1. Trigger right about now. All right, I'm going to drop the double archers here, and I want to see what does their targeting look like. Cool. They get hit, that's fine. I'm not really too perturbed. Do they hit Morgan? Do they swap? Do they swap? And they don't. Okay, that's good. All right, final thing is the Garnet Guards. Do they go ahead and target Morgan? I don't suspect so, because she's 2 tiles removed from Brokir. Double drop. Then we're going to drop the healer and see how we're doing. Cool. There we go. I do think Elwyn dies, though. Pretty sure she might die. Boreas procs. Oh. So Elwyn is hittable. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So Elwyn is hittable. It just depends, though, on how much HP she has. I'm pretty sure my ult has her in full HP gear, so that's why she survived. Interesting. Okay. So there is some viability. I don't necessarily like it, though, but let's see how this works. So we know that Lysir is in a tile that can be hit by archers, so that is not even worthy of testing. The next thing is we're going to see if Garnet Guards hit, which, truth be told, all these tiles, except maybe Praetus, is definitely 1000% in danger of being hit. So let's just go ahead and do it. I think the keep map is pretty simple. Like very simple overall. But and there's no point in putting units over here because you're forced to put a tank here, and any Garnet Guard is hitting this unless you're putting a healer here. But then where are you putting your damage dealers, right? You're not putting them anywhere, so there's no point. Lysir is gone. Ezreal is going to be next. Goodbye. Pelagios is next. The second that Reed stops sending them. Alright, cool. So pretty standard. Nothing too shocking here. GG. Oh wow. Stack the dogs perfectly too. Even off timing. And that's a win. Anyways, those are the Garnet Guard and Archer tests. Yeah, pretty standard. Nothing too crazy. I mean, the only thing that's weird is the interaction between Brook here and the Garnet Guards for the towers. But that's it. See ya.